Welcome back, everybody. It's the Rebel Crow Psychic Show with your host, Athena Silver.
Hey guys, I'm Anja River.
Tonight we're having a little bit of a different type of setup. We're gonna do more of a conversational episode when we talk more about our experiences. Tonight we're gonna be doing a very deep episode and talking about our personal experiences. Tonight's topic is about depression and spirituality and how they meet and how they help each other. So you want to start off, Anja?
Yeah, sure. I think that I'm sure you can relate to this, where I think I grew up in a state of like chronic depression.
I agree.
And in a way, it's kind of good because I think I've been able to develop tools to, break out of that. Chronic depression is something that is, there's different kinds of depression. You're talking about like at this point in my life, I go through maybe like depressive states like 3-4 times a year. And it's not chronic, and that's wonderful.
Do you see it seasonally? Because sometimes I get affected by it seasonally.
I definitely get seasonal affective, whatever it's called, sad at the end of the year, like absolutely get that. Unfortunately for something like that, there's easy fixes, right? Like you take your vitamin D, you go out in the sunlight, like try to get as much sun as you can.
Tai Chi.
The chronic depression is really, really tough. And I'm not really going to like touch on that so much because that's usually like, I feel like when you have chronic depression, it's usually some situation that's out of your control, maybe, also grief, which is also like, it's different, but it's the same, like I went through that for a few years, like several years when I lost my mom, like just like insane grief that, is grief and depression all at once. And, but really like what I find really interesting is when we talk about like the shorter depressions that you're going through, I really feel like this is something where a lot of people might tend to want to push that away, like immediately when it comes. And I've learned that I actually lean into it. Like when it comes, I get it for like a week, maybe a couple days a week here and there. And it's really healing.
I also noticed that it comes, especially those short bursts, coincide with different astrological markers and different astrological alignments that come in. Typically anything to do with Mercury retrograde, typically the days leading up to it and the days leading out of it, I get really anxious, and it's more like a frustration and like a slow burn down here, and it just gets me every time. And nothing's working the right way. No, none of my electronics are working. I'm trying to deal with crazy kids. It's like a lot of stuff all at the same time. But I noticed, even the full moon and the new moon can affect you and your depression.
The full moon is really tough for me. Like it's a time when most people are like more social. And for me, the full moon is usually really, really difficult. And like this last full moon that we had, like I was knocked out. Like I just couldn't do it.
The full moon shines a light on a lot of problems. The new moon covers up the problems. The full moon shines that spotlight on them. So that's typically when you're doing, real like manifestation release type of work, and you're trying to get into a new cycle. But comes full circle. It's powerful.
That's why it's so important to like, when I say like leaning into it, like when it's a shorter depression, like just lean into it, like try to reduce your obligations. And if you can, not everybody can. But it's so important to like go into those states and feel, we are part of this earth, and there's so much, there's so many emotions that are within us and coming at us and coming through us that, this is a part of it, you know, like, and we had an episode about shadow work. This is definitely, you know, having a short term depression is definitely actually pretty healing. Like sometimes it can be like a situation where you know, your body is telling you like, hey, you really need to shut off for a little while. Like, and then once that happens, all the creativity can come back. Like
Yeah.
once you've burrowed and you've like rested and gotten, you know, what you need out of that state, you know. What do you think? I'm sorry, I went on.
Nah, it's cool. I have had a different experience with depression. Depression comes very strongly in my father's side of the family. I've been honestly, I've been depressed and had struggles with it as long as I can remember. It came on when I was a little kid. I was the type of kid that was very aware of my surroundings and things that were going on, things that I thought were right, things that I thought were wrong, what I agreed with, what I didn't agree with. And at the end of it, I feel like the depression was always there. It always felt like it was hanging right above me. You know, anytime I was to go into something joyful, I could never quite feel the joy the way everybody else did. It made me kind of numb. And I went through life like that for a really long time, up into when I had my kids. And
Yeah.
the birth of my first child, I struggled with postpartum depression really bad. Not like crazy Casey Anthony style.
Of course not. No,
No, like I
obviously
love
not.
my kids. They're my life. You know, they're still kicking, so we're good.
Yeah. So
No,
how did
see,
that
that's
manifest
how
for
I deal
you?
with depression. I make jokes. So I am terrible
Well,
at
yeah.
funerals. I will be making inappropriate jokes in the back, trying not to laugh hysterically. I'll be sad though.
Well, how did the postpartum depression manifest for you?
I felt numb and I felt like I couldn't feel anything. Like here was this beautiful child that I brought into the world and I loved him, but I couldn't feel it. I couldn't feel happy. I couldn't feel sad. I couldn't feel anything. And the more I didn't feel, the more it frightened me because I felt like I was broken and I didn't know if it was hormonal. I didn't know if it was just me. I didn't know if I was truly unhappy. It was a very strange time and it went on for quite a while. And I tried to I tried seeking, you know, therapy and all of that. And I will say I think therapy is good when you find the right therapist. Unfortunately, I have never found one that worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I feel like they either made me feel like a science experiment or they made me feel like a freak show because of the level of dysfunction I was working with.
Yeah.
And I also felt like they were very quick to put me on powerful medication that I took and realized it didn't actually help me.
And that's something that is like such a symptom, I feel like, of the dysfunction that we as a Western society, like you are going through something that everyone goes through and it's just like, here's some medications, you know, and
Yeah.
I'm not knocking anybody that takes medications. Like
No,
I know
neither
people
am I.
need.
And if the medication works for you, you're lucky. It's just in my
Yeah.
case, the medication didn't work for me. And
Yeah.
it took me a while to realize that it was a spiritual problem.
Right.
As you all know, and I've talked about this before on the podcast, that I have 2 chronic illnesses. I was about 7 years into the illness when my son was born, I think. No, about 6 years into the illness when my first son was born. So I was still reeling from dealing with the fact that I would be in pain for the rest of my life, you know. And crazy me is like, I'm going to have kids anyway. You know, if you know me personally, you know I'm loca. But you know,
it's your you have a real like zest for life, and that's the wrong word, but you know, like I admire that.
no, you know what it is I'm not gonna let life give me the shit out of the stick.
Mm-hmm.
I refuse to take it. You know, I'm
Yeah.
not getting my hands dirty with it. I'm going to go and figure out my own way. I'm one of those people that, like, if I don't like the answer, I'm going to find an answer I like.
Yeah.
And thank God that I am like that, because it did save me in a lot of respects with the depression. Because back then when I was going through this issue, coming to terms with a chronic illness, coming to terms with having a child and still not feeling joy, looking around my life, at the time I had a partner that was fantastic, that was really there for me, and yet I still couldn't feel it. Like, I knew I should be happy. On paper, I looked really happy, but I couldn't feel it. And it was very frightening, because I felt very out of control and very anxious about it, and then I slowly, I went to therapy. I tried that whole thing. I tried seeing a couple of different therapists. I really couldn't find one that worked for me, like, unfortunately, like so many people, I stopped going. And I started to seek other alternative ways, and spirituality just happened to grab me at that time. I've always been a spiritual person. I've always been, involved in the craft in some kind of way, but this was the first time that I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do with my life. At the time I wasn't working. I was disabled. I was pretty much bedridden, housebound. I was, you remember, I never left my house for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Only to go to doctor's appointments. Like, it was a sad state of affairs.
Yeah.
And, when I got into spirituality, I got into a different type of spirituality that I never really explored before. I got really intrigued by shamanism and like earth-based medicines and different types of like energy healing work and stuff like that. And I really credit my recovery to that. I really feel like that gave me a door back into myself. It helped me to tap back into emotions. It helped me to go back. It's really astral journey work helped me immensely. That cannabis.
Similarly, like, and I don't mean to interrupt, but
cool.
Similarly, like, that's how I feel like my insane grief was able to be rectified, was because I just leaned into it so much. Like, I went in and I just, like, people I think were upset with me that I was grieving that hard for so long, and I just needed to, do the thing, and like, and just like, maybe long past when other people, try to appear to be normal on the outside. I wasn't doing that. I was just like, I'm a mess. Yeah. But here's the thing though, right? I was in the wrong job. Because of that, I quit my job. Now, they actually asked me to stay 3 days, but I quit my job, because I was such a mess. And it was what I really needed to do. And it ended up being like 2 years where I only was working there for like 3 days a week, still had a great salary. And I was able to sort of like slowly position myself into something else. And that really needed to happen.
It's funny you say that, because I feel like starting my business really saved me in a lot of respects, especially from the depression cycle.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say, is that sometimes when you're in these deep depressions, they're really good if you can try to hone in on what it is that is not right in your life. And then you have this opportunity to try to make it your life. At that moment when I was going through the worst time of my life and not really like knowing how to deal, because we don't, like, in Western society, we really don't like look at death or depression in a way where, like, in a helpful way. We look at it like, we look at it like, oh God, no, please keep this away from me. Like, just pretend you're fine.
Or you don't even want to say that you're depressed. You're just a little sad,
like, you can't, we don't feel open to admit this to other people, because we're so afraid of making other people feel uncomfortable, and bringing other people down. But like, look, like, these are the most transformational things that you can undertake if you actually have, the ability to go into it and to really examine, those feelings, and really examine, like, oh my gosh, I feel like like I'm feeling so much right now, you know, like that's what,
Yeah.
to me, what depression is maybe it could manifest as a lack of feelings, like for you, but for some other people, it's like, just, you know, like I'm feeling so much that I actually literally have to shut myself off.
It's a spectrum. It really is. And even for me, just because I have sometimes where I don't feel, I have other parts of the cycle where I do feel something way more amplified than I should. And it's one of those things where it's never, you never see it until you're in it. And it's very hard to see exactly when it started or what started it. I have the type of depression that comes out of nowhere with zero triggers. You know, I'll just wake up one morning and feel off and not really understand where it's coming from. And a lot of times it's coming from very, very deep parts of me on the inside that either, you know, I try not to look at, or I need to do some work on, or it's something that's tied to another thing that I'm doing in my life at the time. And I'm glad now that I have the tools to notice it for what it is. I know I spoke to you the other day. I kind of found myself in one of the cycles, and I said, you know, I know what this is. I know I'm depressed. I don't know why I'm depressed. I'm just going to chill out here and see what's up and see how I can put it back in its box. But, you know, it's something that when you deal with it on a constant basis, you get forced into learning tools and how to put it away. Because
so what are some of the tools that you've learned? I have a few.
Well, the biggest one is astral journeying. Going inside, asking a spirit guide to show me why I'm depressed or what is wrong and where this deep soul ache lies. Another is I go and I go outside, I watch the birds, I watch nature, I try to feel and feel in vibration with everything, with all the different relations in this world. I will go out and ground. Sometimes I'll even do I'll sage myself and smudge myself, you know, do spiritual baths. If it's really bad, I'll do a cycle of spiritual baths, and I'll ask my ancestors to shine light and to show me what's going on and to lead me forward. I'll sage my house. I'll light white fires and stuff for my house. I like to read. So I'll say, you know what, everybody, just leave me alone. I'm going to go outside and read. I'm just going to read a book about anything that has no, you know, connection to depression. Anything. I'll read Mr. Rogers' biography. All right.
I love Mr. Rogers. He's really he's
uplifted
counter.
too.
He's counter depressive. You know, actually, some of my most depressed states, I've actually sat and binge watched Mr. Rogers. That's great.
Wow.
I have, and Bob Ross too.
Won't you be my neighbor?
Oh, Bob Ross is the Happy Trees guy.
Yeah, no, he's the paintbrush guy. He used to come on after Soul Train on PBS in the 90s. As you can tell, the TV raised me.
Yes, me too.
Because that's how I remember things. I put them into context, like what happened on TV at that time.
My mom used to put us all in the living room and pull the drapes and make us watch Bob Ross to make us all calm down and go to sleep so that she could, you know, do whatever.
Yeah, no, my mom just used to yell at us. Some threats.
I was going to say, so all of that, everything that you said, especially the grounding for me, like going outside and just barefoot walking on the ground and on the earth, you know, really helps bring in that energy and move it around a little bit.
I also use crystal therapy too.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite crystal?
Chakra alignment. Hematite's my favorite. It brings me right back into where I need to be. It purifies any negative and turns it into neutral charged energy so that it can be recharged into positive energy.
That's great.
I'll do meditations, like chakra alignment meditations, because a lot of times when I'm depressed, it's a chakra issue. There's some kind of blockage going on. There's an energetic issue going on. which is why like the spiritual baths work really well, and smudging works really well.
Yeah. I like deep belly breathing where you stimulate the vagus nerve.
Yeah, that's a good
So,
one.
because a lot of times, like, if there could be like just thoughts maybe that are circling again and again and again. And so to, meditate when you're letting those thoughts go and connecting with another part of your body, it sort of can help rebalance the situation.
Also, primal scream and primal releasing.
That's one I have not tried. I can't do that here.
Yeah, I do it in a very modern kind of way where I just scream profanity. Like, what the hell is going on?
But that's not the word you use.
No, I use it's a bleep, 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 bleepity bleep. Oh, I get colorful. I'm a wordsmith, now, all right?
is this when your whole family is home, or is it when they're out?
Chica, I will do it at the grocery store if I need to. All right? I live my life out loud. And I dare somebody to tell me how to live my life, all right?
And there you go. So
if I need to curse obscenities in the middle of Walmart, well, guess who's yelling at Walmart? Me.
That's the perfect place to go yell, I guess.
Right? It's like that place is loaded with crazy people. They're just going to give me dirty looks. Nobody's going to say anything.
So I am guilty of being so lazy when I'm depressed. Like I was saying, this last moon cycle, like I just laid on the couch for like 3 days and didn't do a damn thing around the house.
Sometimes you need to just be. Sometimes it's hard to just be in it, So it's like anytime you add on any kind of physical activity or mental activity, it just exacerbates the depression and it makes it worse.
But when I'm ready, I start employing some of these practices. Like I'll go outside. I'll make sure I water my garden and stuff,
Yeah. See, I can't be around people.
That tonight.
I cannot be around people when I'm depressed. Like you will get the crazy side of me, and it's not because I want to. It's just that's what comes out. When I really get that bad, anybody who knows me, you don't hear from me for a day or two. It's because I need to collect my energies and purify them before I try to interact with anybody else's energies. Because I'm not trying to push people away. That's not what I want to do. But unfortunately, when you're holding that kind of energy, it repels people, whether you like it or not,
Right.
And you don't have any control over it. So anything else you want to add about depression?
I watch a lot of comedy. That's it.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, it does.
I like to watch old Chappelle reruns.
Yeah.
Smoke out and watch Chappelle reruns. I'm like, please come back. Please bring the Chappelle show back. I'll watch a whole 3 more seasons.
No, I guess I would just say, like hang, like really just, lean into it if you can. And maybe try to look at things in a different way than what we were taught. I think that helps a lot.
Yeah.
Like really lean into your body, lean into your heart, and see if there's messages in there that you might not have seen before or heard before, because what you're being told from the outside is that you shouldn't feel this way, like, well, you know what, we're human beings, we do feel this way from time to time,
Yeah.
And I think that's about it, like yeah. What about you?
I think it's really important to look at your life as a narrative, and you're the creator of this narrative. You can tell a story about tragedy or you could tell a story about triumph. It's really about what story you want to tell. Now, when you're in depression, you don't have to say and identify that depressive part with yourself. You can say, yes, I feel upset, but that's not really me.
That's a great point.
And re-script that story into something more positive instead of looking at it through a negative lens, shine some light on it and say, all right, I'm feeling bad, but if I do this, this, and this, I may feel a bit better. Or maybe let me help somebody else, because then I'm not paying attention to myself right now. I'm helping someone else. I'm being of service. Being of service really helps me when I get really down, being able to get out of myself and to use, you know, my gifts to help others. I always feel good, whether it's tying somebody's shoe or, you know, reading them their cards, however it is, however it comes, it's helping me feel like I'm getting outside of myself, you know?
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's really nice to end on. Wonderful.
Right?
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, anyway, guys, you know, we're the Rebel Crows. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow at Rebel Crow Psychic Show. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube and all major podcasting platforms. Rebel Crow Psychic Show. You can see us on our website, rebelcrowpsychicshow.com. I'm Athena Silver. If you're looking to have a reading with me, you can reach out to me. My website is readingswithathenasilver.com. My Instagram is athena.silver, and my TikTok is athena_silver. How can they reach you, Anja?
I am on Instagram and Facebook at Anja River, ANJARIVER. And you can contact me if you're interested in a reading, a tarot reading. I'm here.
Well, we want to thank you guys for hanging in on this kind of somber, episode where we get deep and talk about, our struggles with depression. We are not saying that you should not reach out to medical professionals. If you need to, that's what you need to do. There is no judgment here. Both Anja and I have both seen professionals at one time or another, and there ain't no shame in that. You got to love yourself on all levels, whether that's, getting help from, a counselor or a psychiatrist or
a shaman.
Whether that's, or a shaman, whatever you have to do to feel right and healthy, that's what you got to do. We're about health on all three levels, mind, body, and soul. So take care of yourself, guys. Take care of your community. Take care of your family. Take care of your friends. And we will catch you back here next week. Have a good night.
Bye.